Scuba Obsessed is a weekly podcast. We talk about all things scuba diving, from cool new gear, places to dive, and scuba in the news. Scuba Obsessed 541 is recorded live July 14th, 2022. Welcome back to Scuba Obsessed. I'm Darren Gilson, coming to you from the southwest side of the great state of Michigan. For joining me this week, we have Mac, the Dive Mentor. How you doing today, Mac?
I'm doing pretty well, enjoying the weather. And it's awkward to say, but we could do it a little rain.
Yeah, we did get a little rain last week. Not probably enough for what we need, but yeah, we certainly need some more. And for like my hay that we need for the horses this year, we need it to be predictable. So you need some rain so the hay grows. But then when the hay is like to the right height, then you want it to be dry predictably for like 4 or 5 days so you can mow it, rake it, and then bale it. Can you guess what the price of hay is right now?
A lot more than it was last year at this time.
Yes. So I'm an old guy, so I remember hay when it was $1.50 a bale for grass hay. You know, better grass hay was $2, and then, you know, if you're really going fancy, maybe some alfalfa for $2.75. The cheapest you're going to find hay for right now is $8.50 a bale.
You're sure? Damn. Damn.
$8.50 a bale, and we've got.
Well, so hamburger is going up, so I figure a horse, 1,000 pounds of meat. You know, you might just have to sacrifice one of the horses there.
Yeah.
To make your budget match.
Yeah. Well, my daughter, she was going, you know what? I may end up as a unintentional vegetarian this semester because she says, I don't know if I can afford chicken.
You know, I did not realize, talking about horses, and I have no idea why we were looking this up, but I did not know they like bananas with or without the peel.
Huh.
And I did not realize that when you gave a horse an apple, you're supposed to core it first.
Oh, well, sure. Okay. We don't. What was the logic behind the coring? Is it the cyanide in the seeds?
I don't know. They were emphatic about make sure it's small pieces so we can eat it without choking. And we do have the record button on, right?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay. I thought I'd double check.
See, sometimes
it was interesting.
Sometimes I think people write articles and they just make crap up just so you go, wow, I didn't know that. And it's like, well, neither did the rest of us who have had horses for 50 years. you like, because what we've done, I've had this property since 1987, I think is when we bought the property. And what we always do is you eat an apple and you throw just the core out in the grass or in the field. So we've got apple trees everywhere. Who is out there coring the apples before the horses pull them off the tree? I'm so negligent. I hadn't heard of that, but and cut them into pieces so they don't choke on them. Well, they only do that once, won't they? So I mean,
it was funny though, because I had never really thought about it. And then we started thinking, well, how much hay does a 1,000-pound horse eat? And it's like, it was an educational 2 hours we spent looking up horse stuff.
Well,
stuff I never knew. I don't have a horse.
Because we've got 3 horses right now, a thoroughbred, an Appaloosa thoroughbred cross, and we have a draft horse, and I can't remember right at the moment what the breed of the draft horse is. But my wife says this, but he is easier keeper than the thoroughbreds. He eats less food. Or should say he's more efficient at his food intake.
He's not a prima donna.
No, he's a scaredy cat. I can tell you that much. You walk him into the barn, and then there's a grain bag there, And then later you walk them out and then it'll spook at the grain bag. It's like, it's been there for a week. What are you talking about? So, but we didn't come here to talk about grain bags and horses. We're here to talk about some scuba diving. So let's go ahead and jump right on into the news as I get the right button to do this. This is kind of local to the area, Allegan, Michigan. MIOSHA issues a maximum fine in Allegan County death of a diver. The MIOSHA completed its investigation into the July 7th, 2021 death of a diver in Allegan County. Brian Trainey died while inspecting the Calkins Bridge Dam. MIOSHA says a team of 5 Great Lakes Engineering Group LLC employees were performing an underwater structural inspection of the downstream side of the hydroelectric dam. During the inspections, employees lost contact with Trey, who was swept downstream. Emergency crews recovered the body several hours later, about 150 to 200 yards from the dam. Now, from that, do you think that was he above the dam and then they found him below dam? No, inspection of the downhill side.
I believe it's on the downhill side.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he'd have been in a lot more trouble on there. Not more, he died.
Yeah.
There should not be a way for him to go upstream through the dam and out, especially if he's on any kind of line.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the thing that they say here. They found that the employee's dive team had a history of scuba diving without line tending or continuous visual contact with the divers. MIOSHA said employees had been swept downstream before, and Great Lakes Engineering Group LLC did not have policies in place to prevent or respond to it happening. MIOSHA issued the maximum. The other 8 violations are considered serious, which carries a maximum fine of $7,000 each. Would that be common for a dive organization to not have procedures in place? Wouldn't that be a requirement?
I would say we had I helped write the manual for our company, and it's like we address that kind of stuff on line tending and whatever. Just a side note, didn't know if you know, but the dogs are coming through really good.
Yeah, it's about as it may not be making it to the stream because I've got a noise gate on, but there's not much I can do. Yeah.
On ours,
beating them will just make them louder.
We covered on this kind of item about confined diving, especially current diving, because it never said, obviously they were working to scuba.
Mm-hmm.
And generally I have worked dives without a line tender, but I have had some provisions that if I had a problem, I could get the hell out.
So you either had a bailout or...
No, I had a tether line that if it was in a current, I could swing. And I could, instead of going down and getting caught in something, I could swing left or right, depending on the work area.
Mm-hmm.
And you always had your tender watching you.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there seems to be... I mean, since they had the maximum fine, there was recognition that there was some deficiencies there. Now, the fact that this has been, that they've been charged with willful serious, will the family be able to use that for suing?
I certainly would be.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's like, hey, MIOSHA found that you were completely negligent.
Sometime you have a near miss that then makes you suddenly attentive that let's not do this again.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a dive and I did not have a bailout. The surface self-supplied, but no bailout. And I was in tunnels. And you don't really want to do that because whenever the air cut off, I didn't have any friggin' air. I never, ever did that again without a bailout.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll wake you up. Now,
Oh yeah.
now when were you following plans that should have been done? I mean, you had learned from it, but was it one of those
I
things
should have been out. No, I got back to the hole to come back up through the piping. They said, "Hey, while you're down there, could you go to the left and check out that section of whatever?"
One more thing.
And, you know, it's shallow. I had air. Sure, not a big deal. But it turned out to be a freaking big deal. And even more so because they knew they had a problem and never told me. I had already put my system on demand because I wasn't getting a good breath. I didn't have my normal free flow. I put it on demand. And I'm to the southern tunnel, and they're saying, "Hey, Max, you want to put your unit on demand?" And it's like, I did that a long time ago. What's the problem? Well, our compressor quit. Okay, I'm on my way back. And our valve on the tank is leaked. So it did quit air before I got back.
Holy crap.
Oh, yeah. And it's called dry drowning. They prefer you not to take your helmet off because it's easier to revive you if you dry drown.
Right.
But I'll tell you a secret. You want to rip that freaking helmet off your head.
Oh, yeah, every instinct you have.
And I mean, I pull me up as I'm doing stupid things, but it was freaking close. And nobody on that crew ever did that again.
Well, I know that
you had a bailout.
That I have been at depth with open circuit, breathing, and somehow I had water in my mouth, and it kind of like splurted, like I don't know, maybe it dripped into the, you know, from the roof of my mouth in front of the regulator, and I was breathing in, and I choked, and the first thing I wanted to do was pull the regulator out of my mouth, and I had to, like, as I'm going to grab the regulator, I had to go, "What do you think you're doing? You can't breathe underwater."
What we did to ever avoid that is when we had the compressor, then I always made sure they had two of the large cylinders of compressed gas through a regulator also hooked up to the volume tank. So it always quits and you're 5,000 feet from the hole. You ain't coming back. I mean, we'd have guys every 1,000 feet helping haul the holes for the one guy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, though.
Nothing quite gets the blood going like that. Well, it can't.
Yeah. But, you know, you learn, hopefully, from the mistakes, and you don't make them again. And I think that was the biggest one ever made while I was there. And, the rules are made for a reason. You should follow them.
Well, let's take a look at this next article. Dutch Springs property sold for 16 previous episodes, where you can kind of see that where it is now. So you've got kind of a warehouse complex encroaching up on this lake, and then they've had this like dive concession. So I'm guessing that this is in was it Lake Nazareth Township, Pennsylvania? And Dutch Springs Aqua Park has been sold to Landex, a company that maintains government property records. Company that maintains government property records? Oh, according to, not the company that bought them. I'm like, why did you need to buy? Okay. Just me not understanding what I'm reading. The sale clears way for the building of two warehouses, allowing scuba diving to continue in the park's Quarry Lake. Copy of Northampton County records available through Landex indicates the sale of the 95 acres of land, the Quarry Lake, was recorded as of July 7th. At the reported $16.1 million, the price is about $166,000 per acre. Roughly 50 acres of land is water. The buyer was LVTC 3, an acronym for Lehigh Valley Trade Center 3, the name development Trammell Crow Corporation uses for proposed two warehouses covering almost 600,000 square feet in total. Trammell Cow bought the site from Recreational Concepts Development, led by Stuart Schooley. Recreational Concepts bought the land in the Lower Nazareth and Hanover Townships in 1980 for $97,662. So just under $100,000, and then you later sell it for $16 million.
I would sell it for $16 million.
Yeah, you can't blame
I
them.
don't think you're going to make that out of the diving business. That's for sure.
No. The 61-acre lot is listed as a county park and recreational site with a 34-acre tract of land in Bethlehem Township as identified as parking lots. The sale created windfall taxes and fees for local and state governments. The biggest chunk, $161,000, goes to Pennsylvania for a 1% real estate transfer tax and $16.1 million deal. The two host municipalities also get a cut. Lower Nazareth Township will receive $51,520, and Bethlehem Township gets $28,980. The record showed 64% of the land is in Lower Nazareth, thus the larger payout. 36% is in Bethlehem Township. The property extends not only to two townships, but also two school districts. Nazareth Area School District take is $51,520, while Bethlehem Area School District, which covers a small portion of the tract, gets $28,980. After smaller fees are included, the total government-imposed fee on sale are $322,095. The return on his original investment made in 1980 works out to 12.93% annual increase in the property value. He's making 13%, almost 13% a year on that investment, which is a lot more than he's probably making in the dive business. That calculation includes only the two sale prices and excludes investments, labor, and revenue from Dutch Springs. Stewart was involved in the diving venture from the beginning. He and his wife, Jane, later became sole owners. The Trammell Crow division of CBRE Group plans to put out two warehouses in the property. One will be Lower Nazareth Township, the other Bethlehem Township. Two buildings will cover almost 600,000 square feet. Meanwhile, the Quarry Lake, which was threatened with closing, will remain open and operated by two local scuba divers. Former Northampton County Council President Ken Kraft and Jim Folk, owners of Atlantis Aquatics Dive Shop in Bethlehem Township. Scuba diving will continue at some point, but the aqua park will not reopen. The aqua park was quite a big attraction, but that had to take a lot of effort, and they're just not going to have the parking. I mean, that's what they're giving up, is going to become warehouses. The opening date for diving has not been set. Go ahead.
I was looking at the picture, and on the far picture, looks like those are the type of warehouses that are going to continually build around the water area.
Yeah, once you get a successful...
That one item looks like it's got smokestacks on that building. So I was curious, that looks like something that's going to go by the wayside.
Yeah. Once you get a good industrial park going, especially in some of these industrial areas, they're just attractive. We like that they have ties to the local community. Nunn said earlier of Dive LLC that Kraft Folk Venture Trammell Crow talked with multiple groups before choosing to work with Dive LLC. Amazed how far Trammell Crow has gone with us. They had the right to build and could just to put buildings up. That shows what kind of company they are. Trammell Crow should get credit for everything they're doing. And then down in the comments, and this is that Ken Kraft. So that he says, again, I cannot say enough about this developer and the way they have treated the dive community. Big thank you for all involved in this transition for formerly known as Dutch Spring. Yeah, because usually once the press gets too bad or the risk gets too great or liability, they just say, yeah, I'm done.
Well, I'm glad it worked out for the divers and the dive companies.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's try this next one. Lake Murray diver. Diver dude helps locals retrieve their treasures. If anyone knows how lost treasures can be found, it's scuba diver Bob Merrick, also known as Diver Dude. He is helping locals on Lake Murray left and right. For the past 3 years, he's dug up over 50 treasures at the bottom of Lake Murray with his scuba gear. I was curious and lived in the county, so I'd go out and search the woods for anything that looked old. Things like that. So I was always a treasure hunter, so to speak, in my mind. And I went into diving a few years ago, and the first thing I thought of, because I saw other people helping people, Merrick said. He figured out, why not do the same? If people don't specifically some of these websites are just so obnoxious. If people don't specifically seek out Diver Dude's help through Lake Murray Life Facebook page, Bob will post to it. Sometimes I find things, post them there, people recognize it, and they're able to give me information that will show ownership so I can get it back to them. He tells News 19 that the feelings he gets giving back lost lockets, sunglasses, cups, and phones is what motivates his dives. It's that's the best feeling, finding something for someone seeking to look in the face. Kayla Beaver lost a Yeti cup months ago and was overjoyed to get it back. Yeah, Yeti cup. Don't you have to take a mortgage out for those? She tells News 19 it's a great example of kindness, dedication, and hard work. When they lose something, they just automatically write it off. And many people that I've talked to, they didn't know anybody could help recover things for them. Diving deep for his neighbors, Bob will continue to scuba on. If you have lost treasure that needs to be found, the best way to reach Bob is through Lake Murray Life Facebook page. Okay.
I have dove Murray before, because I used to live there.
Oh, you lived in?
That is where they also, South Carolina, right down the street. That's in Columbia. Used to go to Lake Murray. That's how I broke my neck the first time. Is cliff diving.
Oh, ouch.
Oh, yes. Dumbass 17-year-old kid. But they also recovered a B-24 out there. Well, that was that's been, 15 years intact. There's an island out there called Bomb Island. And you can figure out why it's called Bomb Island. And when they were not utilizing it, you could go out and find all sorts of interesting treasure out there.
Now
if you were so inclined.
Now that lake had a bridge in it?
No, well, it has a dam.
No, but
it has dam. It also has cliffs and embankments.
Well, look at this, what they're showing.
You're talking about the town when they flooded it.
Oh, Lost Towns of Lake Murray. Okay. Yeah, they're just showing a video of it.
Yeah.
There's a side scan showing a bridge. Kind of the bridge that used to cross St. Joe and Berrien Springs.
When I was there, though, I didn't have side scan, so I have no clue.
So you could have been right there and not even known it.
Oh, very possible. Very possible. Well, we did have good visibility out there, and the local areas where people swam, everybody was losing stuff out there all the time. I'm just surprised it took somebody this long to start doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't sound like he's been diving all that long.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. You're down there and people are like, oh, what are you looking for?
Yes.
Well, if you happen to see my insert item here. Well, how about this one? Oregon coast timbers may be from shipwreck that inspired the Goonies. When archaeologists entered caves along the Oregon coast last month, they found no evidence of booby-trapped pirate ship interior or its captain, One-Eyed Willie. But they did locate dozens of timbers that they think came from the 17th century sunken Spanish galleon that inspired Steven Spielberg's 1985 film The Goonies, which featured fictional pirate and his treasure-laden vessel. No booby traps, just the timber, said Scott Williams, president of Maritime Archaeological Society. He and his team recovered the timbers in mid-June in an archaeological expedition that wouldn't have been out of place in Indiana Jones. The cave are incredibly hard to get to. They're located in the beach. It's only accessible at high tide, and it's a tough hike to get to it over landslides and border fields. This discovery continued to fuel search for the wreck of the Santo Crisco de Burgos, a Spanish galleon that disappeared in the Pacific Ocean in 1693. Historians say it may have sunk off the coast in what is now Oregon, where the items believed to have been on the vessel have washed ashore for centuries. The idea of a missing ship turns up in The Goonies, a cult classic starring Sean Astin, Josh Brolin, and Corey Feldman. It's a group of ragtag kids searching for treasure after discovering a long-lost map.
Yeah.
According to a spokesperson for the Spielberg Company, Amblin Productions, the movie mogul used the story of the 6-foot movie prop is destroyed after filming was complete. What exactly happened in 1963 is a mystery. The ship simply disappeared during the crossing from Manila to Acapulco, Mexico. A common trade route for Spanish merchants at the time, the vessel was known to be carrying a cargo of beeswax to make candle, rare silks, and Chinese porcelain. For 2 centuries, people have been finding evidence of the shipwreck along the Oregon coast, fueling a belief that the vessel was blown off course in a storm and foundered nearby. According to a National Geographic story, oral history of local indigenous tribes recall long ago sinking blocks of beeswax with Spanish markings and broken pieces of porcelain washed ashore near Astoria since the early 1700s. For 15 years, archaeologists have been trying to find what is known as the beeswax wreck. Recently, a local fisherman found some ancient-looking timbers on an Oregon beach, prompting the search of nearby caves for more of the weathered wood. Immediately, people began saying the 12 timbers discovered last month, one measuring nearly 8 feet in length, were from that vessel. But are they? We're about 90% sure they are, but there's nothing definitive in what we've seen that says they are from a ship that went missing in 1693. This is according to Williams, who's also Cultural Resources Program Manager for Washington State Department of Transportation. It's some kind of ship built in Asia or possibly South America, or have been the case of the Santa Cristo. We believe to have been constructed at a Spanish port in the Pacific Ocean. There's a chance it's an unknown shipwreck, but the odds are small for that. The simplest explanation is these timbers are part of the galleon. We plan to do some diving over the summer. We also have an underwater remote operated vehicle, the camera. We'll try that around offshore. Wouldn't carbon dating help them with this?
I would think it would. I mean, that's 400 years old. That's quite interesting in itself.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could do some carbon dating of the wood. I know it costs some money.
Did they say how deep that was?
Well, they haven't found the wreck. This was in a cave, and the cave was above the water line. So I'm picturing that there's these caves dotted on the cliffs, and it's like you have to be pretty motivated to get up there. Large timber discovered in the coast in June. Because they said you can only get there at high tide. So it must mean that because low tide, it's still above the water. It's just that it's probably not as easy to get there.
I'm just curious if they're going to use an underwater remote operated camera.
Well, I think what they're assuming is that the stuff made it to the beach and to the caves just from being blown in. Unlike in the movie, I think that, and it's been so long since I've seen that movie, that the boat was sailed into the caves at some point.
Well,
it's hidden.
400 years ago, it could have.
Yeah. Kind of surfing like in the cartoons. And then another one right in our general area. This wreckage of the ship on display at Sheboygan's lakefront was pulled from Lake Michigan in 1990s.
You're talking about
I'm sorry, Mac, you broke up. Or my internet was...
oh, I thought you were talking about the Lottie Cooper.
Yeah, the Lottie Cooper. Sheboygan Lottie Cooper was built a 3-masted cargo ship for common in Great Lakes moving goods from port to port, according to Sheboygan press clippings provided by Beth Dipple of Sheboygan County Historical Research Center. In 1876, the Lottie Cooper was constructed in Manitowoc. She would spend the next 18 years at sea on the lake. Are you at sea? Do you say you're at sea when you're on a freshwater lake?
They do here.
Sailing the sea, hauling lumber from various ports of Sheboygan to be served the needs of the lumber-hungry factories in the city. She was part of a fleet operated by Edwin Grow. At the time, the fleet included schooners, the Lottie Cooper, Evening Star, Joseph Duval, Quickstep, Tug Sheboygan, Satisfaction, and Peter Rice were also an important part of the fleet. The job of the tugs was toning schooners and scows in the Sheboygan Harbor before the North Breakwater construction. In a vintage photo, she is quite a regal sight at full sail, parked along several of her contemporaries. Now, when they say a tug, how's a tug powered back then?
Steam.
So it would have been steam, but these vessels were sail. So the steam tug would have gone out, grabbed them, and then pulled them through the breakwater.
The picture they show here, though, is amazing from the aspect of, it looks like there's at least 4, if not 5, different schooners there, and some of them appear to be 5-mast schooners.
Yeah, there's quite a few in there. And I understand St. Joe could have looked like this as well.
If you look at the ship canal photos, it was amazing how many ships were in there. And even in the late 1890s, 1910, there's a lot of ships that would used to haul during the winter. They'd be in icing conditions, but they'd be in the ship canal.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the pictures are quite unique and interesting. And of course, the ship canal was about 3 times as big as it is now.
Now, when you say ship canal in St. Joe, that's the, it goes over there by the golf course?
That's the one that goes behind where the Whirlpool Center is now. It goes back and where the bridge now goes over to the new section where they built the docks and stuff.
Okay.
That short section's the only part that's left. Used to go all the way down to, you know, where the big square is, the parking lot is, downtown in Benton Harbor behind the buildings.
Yeah.
That used to be a turning basin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You mean to the Glass Street Works, which
Yes,
was where the
that's
White
correct.
Star ended.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. But I've heard some rumors that they're trying to, that they want to figure out how to open that back up.
That's come up at least twice, and it's come up again in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Because you're talking money again. Money talks.
Well, and that's what it is. It's somebody trying to get some more waterfront property and entertainment. So,
Well, that's why South Haven has a little better recreational facilities and more events than we do, is they have more shoreline for boats. If they opened up the ship canal back where the turning basin was, you bring in a lot more traffic, a lot more boating areas, and a lot more surface area to have events.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's a boating culture in Lake Michigan where you've got a boat and you want to do something with a boat. So you almost do it like a car. It's like how we would drive up to maybe Grand Rapids or Holland or Saugatuck. You can do the same thing with a boat. But you've got to
Well,
have
they do.
things
South
for.
Haven,
Yep.
yeah, they have antique boat show last week up in South Haven. You got the new Maritime Museum building.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a heck of a draw now.
Yeah.
Or much more of a draw.
Yeah, and then you have to have the public marina and access so that people who aren't paying for dock space can come and take advantage of the waterfront.
Yep.
And St. Joe, I don't think there's really anything.
No, there isn't. They're trying to do, remember where we do our dives, Whirlpool Basin?
Yeah.
They're trying to open that back up. Matter of fact, that's going to be called, what the heck is that now? They're going to rename it after our current representative, Upton.
Oh, Upton?
It's going to be Upton Park.
Okay.
And they just redid the road that leads down to it from Whirlpool.
Yeah. Well, the thing what always happens is that's kind of an idea, but then somebody says, you know what, we could put 40 boat slips here and look at all the money we'd make.
It used to be boat slips. It used to be a floating dock out there. I've got pictures of it in the old days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wonder why that I guess there's probably a whole history that we could do an episode just on why the lakefront changed or happened or what went on. So probably the access got cut off because Whirlpool used to have quite a few factories down there.
Well, you figure we had boat building facilities,
right,
all along Ship Canal, plus under the bridge that goes by where the police department is. That was one of the big boat builders. They built minesweepers for the British Navy out of wood.
Yeah, well, you didn't want something metal that the mines would get drawn to.
I wonder why.
Yeah, come on. We just yeah, I'm trying not to get political. I was just going to name a country who might be having some naval problems recently. But they're in Sheboygan. Oh, here's let me show some other photos. Here's another photo from the article. Gary C. Klein is a photo credit, USA Today Network. Lifts the remains of the Lottie Cooper in the early 1990s photo. The remains are on display at Deland Park. So this is another case of where they pull something out of the water, it's sitting on shore and it will rot away.
Yep.
Well, it's pristine. It could sail again.
Yeah, sure.
But I do like it that somebody can get there and they can touch it. It's just it's the shelf life or shore life of that wood is not going to be long.
It's amazing. I mean, even up by Blue River Bridge and the park up there where they have some large, gigantic crossbar anchors with the wood stocks on them that 30 years ago were maintained and shellacked and coated every year. And the last time I was up there, they were all rotting away because they didn't have the funds to go ahead and preserve the items they had on display.
Yeah. Yep. It's one of those cases where they'd probably be better conditioned underwater.
It would have lasted longer.
Well, that does it in Scuba in the News for this week, a short little batch of articles. So we had mentioned, I can't remember if we talked about it in the show or before the show, but we got the Mud Club meetings coming up next week. July. I
know, it's almost gone, too.
July.
As a side note, just since we're talking wrecks, Kevin Ailes, who's been on our program before, we should have him back because he's been doing a lot of research and looking for the old wrecks that people thought they knew were there, but he's finding out they're not really where they thought they were. And he's done one now, like this week, was on the ship The Music. And he did a really fantastic article on it in the club newsletter. And the pictures he's already posted. So In this case, it's still underwater, it's still alive and well, and it's not going to rot away. But we can have him come back on and talk about some of the wrecks he's been refinding. It's like the Wheeler that most of us have not dove on since the 70s. He relocated that for us a couple of weeks ago. And he's down there saying the sand must have moved because you got over 200 and some odd feet of wreckage that used to be covered by sand.
Wow. 200 feet of wreckage you can see in the Wheeler?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Somebody needs to get down there with a GoPro or something and just get some shots.
And he does have some shots. He hasn't put them on the net yet. But if you go down to the Michigan City now, you can dive Muskegon, then the breakwater, and then the Wheeler.
Yeah.
You got at least a 2-tank dive.
Yeah, I like that.
Well worth going.
I like that breakwater. That's a fun breakwater.
Yep.
That's one of those dives. If you're just getting into diving and you've done your open water and you're looking for a spot, I mean, I don't know if you can really swim out to it. It's probably not a good spot where you could get to there without a boat, but you could kayak out there.
You could kayak out there, but it's a pain in the butt from shore.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So you mentioned Kevin. Anybody else getting any diving in? Did Karen?
Well, we got our Thankful Tuesday dive. This week we went to Schaefer Lake between Lawrence and Hartford off of I-94. And we actually had 2 individuals from Florida, from our Florida Facebook branch of the Mud Club, join us. And then I had not Amy. Oh, darn. I'll think of her name in a second. It is Amy, A-M-Y. She's from California, and she's been working here in Michigan for a couple of weeks on her way to New York to do some additional work.
Excellent.
And she dove with me. So that was the only time we really didn't have a lot of muddies, but we had our muddies from other groups joined us.
So what is the impression of somebody from outside the area coming and diving?
Well, the father and son team from Florida have relatives up here, so as they did their trip, they were making sure they dove in lots of different places up north, and they saw the posting. They said, let's go down and see what Schaefer Lake is like. Well, with 2 feet visibility, very cold springs at the bottom, and weeds that looked like freshwater kelp, they were not exactly impressed, but it added to their experience level of different type of environments to dive in.
It's like a war story. It's like the blizzard. You know, you go, oh my gosh, it was really bad. Yeah, because that's because you always hear some of the dive operators in other locations say when they find out somebody's an experienced diver from the Great Lakes, they're usually like, you'll be fine. Yeah, they're used to the cold water, dark conditions, low vis.
Yeah. Well, Amy is from California. She's a new diver. She's they got 15 dives, I think.
Okay.
So she dove with me because the low vis she's not comfortable with. The weeds were a little unusual. So she tagged with me and gave her some clues about, using the float. How you could use that to do a level trim out. How you've always got it because if you got tired, you got a surface buoy right there by you.
Yeah.
How you can carry your extra water so when you get thirsty from breathing that dry air on a hot summer day, you got that. So we practice some of those skills.
Yeah, and if you find a bag of coins, you can always throw them up in your catch basket.
Yep, you find that gold bar, you don't have to lug it with you. Yeah. Put it in the basket. And I told her, when she finds that, let me know. I'll take care of it for her. Yeah, I'll carry it for her.
Yep. And your name is John Smith, by the way.
Yes.
Well, very good.
And then again, we talked about why you didn't dive the river, and I think it was around Kalamazoo, or I can't remember if it was Kalamazoo or up towards Grand Rapids, that they put a notice out that you shouldn't be diving the river there. You know why?
Contamination?
No. How about 5-foot alligators?
Oh gosh, I saw that article and I forgot about it. I was going to do that. Maybe while we're mentioning it, let me see if I can find it. So people who don't know what this is talking about is, and I had to double check when I saw it.
I just remember it wasn't anywhere I was diving, so I really wasn't worried about it. But by the same token, it's not unusual. Somebody will come up and salt it. That happened down in, let's see here, LaPorte. I've got a couple of lakes there. And driving over to my buddy's house, where his girlfriend was, and she had to stop because this alligator was crossing the road in the creek. Now, obviously, somebody brought that back from Florida and let it go.
Yeah. Well, I do have a friend who has a company called Gator Graphics, and he does have an alligator. So, and he's had alligators in Michigan for probably the last 15 years. And I've always wondered, you know, because when you first see them, they're only like 2 or 3 feet long. And then you see them and they're 5 feet long. And then I'm trying to think of, at some point, that's going to be too much for you to want to mess with.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably eat more than a horse does.
Well, the good news is you can just feed them a horse. You got to put them, you kill the horse, you put it in a freezer. Of course, you got to chop it up. It's easier if you freeze it. You know, if you have a big freezer and you then put the horse. Now, here's what you do is you got to get the horse to walk into the freezer. And then when it freezes, you can chop it because then it's a little bit cleaner that way. And this is no experience here, by the way. I have not done that.
I've not had horse, and I know they serve horse in France, but I have had alligator. I like alligator bites; they're pretty good.
Yeah, I've had alligator Zix sticks here in Bering Springs, a world-known food processor. They do that. They do a lot of exotic meats and the kind of like a jerkies. Horse I've never had. I know that in Europe, athletes will frequently eat horse. So supposed to be leaner. So the college is currently working with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources in the Critlow Alligator Sanctuary, which is located 40 miles from the college in Athens, Michigan. So why is there an alligator sanctuary in Michigan? The Nature Center remains closed, and college has released a statement urging visitors to remain vigilant around large bodies of water, particularly around the Kalamazoo River, which runs 130 miles before emptying in Lake Michigan, thereby Saugatuck. I used to live on the Kalamazoo River. 9th, prompting officials to close the Nature Center to visitors. Kathy Cole, spokesman for Albion College, told MLive that the officials had not yet confirmed the location of the alligators of Tuesday. Local MDNR office has just not released an update regarding the search for the alligator. Under Michigan law, there are no specific references to managing alligators, of course. However, there's a large carnivore act that requires law enforcement officers to assume the role of animal control officer. They say assume the role. Is that his bait? Well, the Nature Center...
I don't know, but...
Go ahead.
I'm just, if I was walking down there, I'd borrow somebody's dog on a leash.
Yes.
So at least I got something in front of me in case they wanted to get something that wouldn't be my leg.
No, here's what you do, is you need a dog that is like crippled, like is only 3 legs, because I want something I can run faster than. So it's like the alligator, the dog, and me. I need to be, if not the fastest, at least faster than the dog. And I may have barbecue sauce on the dog in advance anticipation. Because, I mean, who can resist barbecue? When the Nature Center was expected to reopen on Tuesday, it posted a message on Facebook that started with the trail would remain closed until further notice, citing unusual weather conditions. Oh, along with the alligator sighting. Alligators in the north. Look at this. As you can see in the USGS map above, alligators have a range that extends north to Arkansas, North Carolina. However, there have been many gator sightings over the years far beyond this range. These northern gator sightings are typically caused by alligator pet owners, often illegal pet owners, who release the gators in the wild or allow it to escape. Alligators are released or escape the northern states do not survive for long, obviously. But can you see on this map? If I can zoom in on it. Have you noticed a particular body of water that is highlighted?
Oh, yeah.
So we got the Kalamazoo River. If you're looking on this, Michigan, for those who don't know, is the only state that looks like a mitten. And in the mitten, there's a line. That's the Kalamazoo River line there. But this bottom line, that is the St. Joe River Valley, which is where we dive in. So,
Since we are talking alligators, and you realize this is Shark Week, right?
no, I haven't. So
Yeah,
Shark
well,
Week,
it's
they got
Shark
that
Week
going
already.
on again?
Oh, everything is sharks this week. And today's activities were alligators / crocodiles in Florida eating sharks. It was really good. And sharks eating crocodiles. There's a
So
breeding
that's kind of
area
like
sharks
Godzilla versus
down.
King Kong.
Well, some of those fights they had actual videos of were pretty darn good.
Surprised there's not like a
brackish
gambling ring
area
on
that
that.
both the alligators like and the sharks like for breeding. And they had some really interesting episodes of sharks versus alligator and alligator sneaking up on a shark. So those are places I am not going to be diving, just so you know.
Okay. Well, I don't even know. I mean, I remember when we've told the story a bunch of times of Captain Tom saying, stand up, take your fins off, and when the alligator comes at you, you hit it with a fin. But we don't even tell people to do that up here. I mean, do we need to start that in the training in the open water class? That's usually the one thing we brag about. It's fresh water, no sharks, no gators, mostly. I agree. They're pet owners, most likely. And I don't think they can make it through the winter. Most years.
I would believe not. The ice is going to get them.
Okay. Little reintroduction. Do you have a safety story for this week?
Let me look here real quick. Gotta get rid of that.
Got anything in your list? Oh.
Well, it's not really a safety story. It's going to be my end game, which was 5 simple steps for diving safety. And I'll move it over here so my head's not bobbing around. Which is, as always, plan the dive the plan. Dive within your limits. Look at your gauges regularly. Verify the safety of your equipment, meaning is that inflator really working? Is the relief valve blowing all the time? And make sure you're ready to dive. And then you're almost good to go. Think safe, stay safe. Well, that's my words of wisdom for the
Short
day.
and to the point. It's always good to make sure your gear's ready.
It's amazing how often you'll hook up your BC and it looks good, but you don't press it until you get into the water. And then you realize it's there, but it's not connected. That's why we said before you get off that boat, put some air in your BC. Then you know it's working.
Well, do we have anything we want to plug before we get on out of here?
Not diving related, but Oshkosh begins on the 25th of July through the week. And if you're an aviation buff, You like airplanes, that's the place to go. Already got my tickets.
You got your tickets? You're going to go? You're not taking a plane up
yeah.
there?
No, we are. We've already rented the scooters because I walked my freaking legs off last year, and this year I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ride.
Ride in style.
You betcha.
So here I've got two set up for tonight. One's a warm up,
right.
and then if we survive that one, we've got the one that a little better or a little worse, depending on your perspective. While opening a package of lemonade mix this morning, I was reminded of a story of a lion and a cheetah that fell in love. They had a son who had a characteristically loud manner of his father, but a spotted coat and great speed of his mother. He was known throughout the jungle as Terralong, the dotted lion.
That's so bad, it's all right.
Well, here we go. Maybe this will make up for it. After Quasimodo's death, the bishop of the Cathedral Notre Dame sent word through the streets of Paris that a new bell ringer was needed. The bishop decided he would conduct interviews personally and went up into the belfry and began screening process. After observing several applicants demonstrate their skill, he decided to call it a day when a lone, armless man approached him and announced that he was here to apply for the bell ringer's job. The bishop was incredulous. "You have no arms." "No matter," said the man. "Observe." He then began striking the bell with his face, producing a beautiful melody on the Callan. Or Carlin. I'm probably saying it wrong. The bishop listened in astonishment, convinced that he had finally found a suitable replacement for Quasimodo. Suddenly, rushing forward to strike the bell, the armless man tripped and plunged headlong out of the belfry window to his death in the street below. The stunned bishop rushed to his side. When he reached the street, a crowd had gathered around the fallen figure. Drawn by beautiful music they had heard only moments before, as they silently parted to let the bishop through, one of them asked, "Bishop, who was this man?" "I don't know his name," the bishop sadly replied, "but his face rings a bell." The following day, despite the sadness that weighed heavily on his heart, the unfortunate death of the armless campanologist, the bishop continued his interviews for the bell ringer of Notre Dame. The first man to approach him said, "Your Excellency, I am the brother of the poor armless wretch that fell to his death in this very belfry yesterday. I pray that you honor his life by allowing me to replace him in his duty." The bishop agreed to give the man an audition, but as the armless man brother stooped to pick up the mallet to strike the first bell, he groaned, clutched his chest, and died on the spot. Two monks, hearing the bishop's cries for grief at the second tragedy, rushed up to the stairs aside. "What happened?" The first said breathlessly, "Who is this man?" "I don't know his name," sighed the bishop, "but he's a dead ringer for his brother."
That's bad. You are bad.
So, on that note, go out there and get wet.
For whom the bell tolls.
Sometimes we can get them. I can't believe. Yeah, I can't believe how long the delay is that